This episode of the podcast is about if you should use Google's Disavow tool or not. The Disavow tool on Google Search Console, should you use it? I'm making this episode because I received an email from somebody named Asaf Levy. Asaf, thank you for reaching out. He said, I've had a professional SEO expert working on my site for about a month and a half now. He says the site had toxic backlinks that initially boosted its performance, but later hurt it. And he submitted a disavow request a couple of weeks ago. There has been no significant changes since. To be honest, I'm at a bit of a loss. And I found this mega thread on the SEO subreddit. Has anyone seen positive impacts from using the disavow tool? So I'm going to share the top comments from this. And there are so many comments, 92 comments, but I'm going to share the top ones because a lot of them say the same thing. But I'm going to share even the ones where people say something different. Then I'm going to give my take. So that's what you can expect on this episode of the show. You will have an answer to should you use Google's Disavow tool. If you don't know what it is, by the way, it's a tool for telling Google to ignore these bad backlinks to my website because you're afraid that these bad toxic backlinks are going to hurt your rankings in Google. And so you upload this list to Google Search Console. You say, hey, ignore these links. That's the idea of it. And for a long time, people have been saying, don't use this. It actually does more harm than good. Google's pretty good already at ignoring spam backlinks. The reason your site isn't ranking, it's probably not these spam backlinks. And this tool, so useless that it's actually getting retired from Google. But people still use it. Just like this person emailed me who hired this SEO contractor who used it, and nothing has happened. And so I'm making this episode for people who are thinking about wasting their time using it. I'm already revealing my opinion on it, but I'm making this episode for people who are thinking about wasting their time on it or wasting their money hiring somebody to do it. All right, so this is what the comments say. I'm 10 years in SEO. I've used it multiple times in the past, earlier in my career. It never made a difference. Don't waste your time unless you have a manual penalty. That's the top comment. Another comment, started disavowing k.html backlinks. I disavowed 1,000 of these links and I update the file every day and my money keywords that were dropping to page 2 have increased to hovering between 3 and 5. So that's one where someone's like, yeah, it actually worked. Disavowing k.html backlinks. The next person said, I used disavow and noticed no difference from it. Somebody else said, I doubt the tool is even actively functioning, meaning you are probably submitting into the void having wasted your time. The next person said, aren't they getting rid of that? I never used it anyway. Here's a comment that I like. 8 years ago, I had a recovery due to the Penguin update. However, other factors also played a role as the website had been negatively affected by previous updates, which were clearly related to unnatural backlinks. This means that it only makes sense to use the tool if you actually receive a manual penalty. As a measure to prevent penalties, however, it is questionable. Google can detect patterns of unnatural links on its own, and purchased links can be ignored. Therefore, if you have bought a lot of black hat SEO links, the disavow tool will not help you, as Google recognizes the link patterns and devalues them anyway. The tool is supposedly being eliminated because it causes confusion. So use it when you really get a manual penalty and a notification from Google. This person said disavowing toxic links is a hygiene process. Even though you may not see immediate results, it is better to get all toxic links disavowed. And someone's like, is it? What are you basing that assumption on? This person goes, it is not an assumption. I faced a spam attack on my site in 2021. Later, I updated the disavow list, and about 5 months after the next update, I started seeing positive results. Since then, I have been performing this actively on a monthly basis. And to me, that sounds like a complete assumption because it was 5 months later and tons happens to a site in that time. There's a great chance the person, and it was after an update, there's a great chance the person would have just recovered on their own. Somebody said, I have never seen a penalized site recover after disavowing. And this was my favorite comment. This is what I'm going to end this thread on because I believe in this so strongly. This person articulated my thoughts better than I could. Person said, I think it's a nice extra service SEOs can sell to gullible businesses. Think about it logically. If it worked, then the opposite would be true and everyone would be purchasing cheap toxic links to negative SEO their competition. For a few $100s, you can buy software that will create tens of thousands of these links daily and decimate all competitors. Of course, you would use it to create 100 per week, something believable that they are clearly continuing to buy them. And if you're an unethical SEO, you'll generate them to have unlimited work disavowing them. The only fair and logical thing Google can do is identify and pass on zero authority from these kinds of links. Don't waste your time/budget disavowing. At best, you're just doing Google's job for them. And then someone said, people are sending cheap toxic links to negative SEO, the competition. This has been going on for years. And that's true. That is true, but it's a lot harder to do than the original person said. And so the original person counters, yeah, and it's not effective, or it would be a massive problem. Google already ignores these links. All you can achieve with a disavow tool would be to out your links that Google wasn't smart enough to identify yet that may be contributing to your rank in the tiniest possible way. Ignore them like any real business not trying to game the search engine would. That is a great line. That's like really a if you want to have a natural backlink profile, do things that a site that has a natural backlink profile would do. And the disavow tool is not one of those things. Do you think, this is what the person said, do you think the plumbers or accountants of the world know anything about their backlink profile? And before you say they're SEO managers, that SEO is a business Google would rather didn't exist, Google just wants to sell clicks to real businesses. Money spent on SEO is less money in the marketing budget for ads. Oh my gosh, this debate is so heated. So the same person who said negative SEO is a real thing said plumbers and accountants are selling a service and likely aren't earning revenue from programmatic advertising on their plumbing and accountant sites. That needs an entirely different approach than informational sites. The person goes, in 2024, purely information, advertising, affiliate, and even some unmonetized websites are in steep decline. It's true. This was in 2024. Generative AI has already started to take their place, and Google is cutting ties such that real businesses, the cash cow, are just one paid click away. If this person clearly doesn't know about bottom of funnel SEO. If you are not a real business selling a product or service, your days are numbered. Toxic backlinks are not your issue. Don't waste resources disavowing something that is ultimately not in your control. Instead, develop products like a real business. That is what Google rewards, for now anyway. In 25, 26, it'll probably be 99% pay to play. That prediction was wrong. The last comment in this is, I disagree here on all counts. The majority of informational sites did just fine in these updates, especially ones that have been around a while and are producing high quality content for an established readership. Of course, you're going to hear more about the people that lost in the last 6 months, but there are plenty of informational sites thriving even in this current AI/Google update environment. My website has been a real business for many years. That's also true. Lots of informational sites did just fine. And then a lot of them also got hit. I think targeting informational content and just targeting that, it's going to be increasingly risky because informational keywords are getting disrupted by AI overviews or disrupted by ChatGPT and so. So that's why I recommend bottom of funnel. That's why I recommend transactional. But going back to the disavow tool, and if it's necessary, I agree that it is the type of thing that SEOs sell gullible businesses on. It's just like, it's like selling a passing grade with Google page speed insights. And I've made so many podcasts now about how plenty of sites that have terrible grades on Google page speed insights that have with these various page speed tools, they do horribly and they have amazing rankings. This is what I told the person who emailed me. I said, I generally fall into the camp of disavows aren't really necessary. My guess is your SEO expert is wasting your money, which is common among SEO experts. They will tell you to do things that don't drive the needle. Hygiene practices, optimizing Google page speed insights. The list goes on. Nowhere with my SEO method and my SEO course, compact keywords, the thing on my shirt, do I say use disavows. I also don't say you need bad link building practices because it's not necessary. My advice is don't use a disavow tool. You probably don't need it. You probably need better keyword targeting. You need to satisfy search intent before visitors to your site even start scrolling. They want to get their answer right away, and then the page goes deeper on what the keyword you're targeting is about. And in terms of actual, you're like, okay, but how do I build links? If you're going after the right kinds of keywords, which are transactional keywords, and most transactional keywords aren't very competitive, and if you're targeting them well, you don't need to have the most amazing backlink profile. Doing what normal businesses do, that's great. And if you want to do what normal businesses do, but have an emphasis on backlinks, do that. And I make lots of episodes about it, but the TLDR is submit your business to lots of different directories. There are directories for every type of niche. Use journalist expert platforms like Source of Sources or Help a Reporter Out. Those two are free. They have the top publications in the world on them. Go on podcasts. You can use AIPodcastMatcher.com. It matches hosts who want guests on their shows with guests who want to go on podcasts. And then you go on a podcast, you get links from those podcasts, and you drive awareness by going on the podcast. And then people are actually engaging with your site. You can't have a site that has all these links and no engagement. Google will see through that. Oh my gosh. And think about cool linkable assets, things that you can make that are useful, interesting, or like I said, cool that people will want to share. Do that instead. Small chunk it daily. You will be surprised how it adds up. Yesterday's podcast was just about how if you do something every day, how it adds up. So small chunk it every day. This is what I said to this person. I said, you don't need better links. You don't need the Disavow tool. You need better keywords, better page structures, and a different approach, a more healthy approach to link building. Should you use the Disavow tool in 2025? No. Google has been saying it's going to be retired for a long time. All these people are saying, I was hit with a penalty. It didn't do anything. Or I was worried I was going to be hit with a penalty. I used it. It didn't change anything. Or I just used it because I thought it would improve my rank. It didn't change anything. There was one person there who said it mildly increased things, but that person didn't give any extra details, and it could have been many other things that actually led to the increase. Should you use the Disavow tool? It's dangerous. Don't do it. That is all for episode 678 of my daily digital marketing show, The Edward Show, 678 days in a row doing this podcast. Let's go. Tomorrow, I'm having an executive from Moz on the show. That's going to be cool. Anyway, and last week I had on Rand Fishkin, the founder of Moz, legend in the digital marketing space. Hope you listened to that episode. It was a good one. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye now.